South Carolina wraps up the season 8-4, 5-3 in the SEC, and drops another one to arch rival Clemson, this time in Columbia at Williams-Brice Stadium, 34-10 in an embarrassing fashion. Jake Bentley and the offense can't seem to get anything started, and the defense just can't hang in there long enough to keep Clemson off the scoreboard. We'll have your complete post-game reaction, talk about wrapping up the season, preview the bowl projections currently, take a look at the rest of the SEC, and talk about offensive philosophy and a possible change in the coaching staff, and we'll get a little bit into the basketball world as well. So a lot to get to. Stay with us. We're just getting things started. This is the Carolina CrowLine.
Follow the show on Twitter at Carolina CrowLine. Email the show at gcsportstalk@gmail.com.
Geico presents Unhelpful Home Improvement How-Tos.
Overhanging trees present a real danger. During high winds, falling branches can damage roofs and windows. So today, I'll show you how to protect your home by wrapping it in bubble packaging. All you need is a staple gun and 142,000 feet of bubble packaging. Let's get started.
You could try to protect your home with bubble packaging, or you could get covered for personal property damage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Call Geico and see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
This holiday season, Groupon has something for everyone, because Groupon has gifts for people who like getting stuff and people who like doing stuff, people who like cookware and people who like restaurants, people who like headphones and people who like concerts, people who like staying in and people who like going out, people who like relaxing in front of a new TV, and people who like relaxing at a high-end spa. So whether they like getting stuff or doing stuff, you can find the perfect gift on Groupon. Download the app and save. Groupon.
Loans are made by WebBank. Rates and terms vary based on credit history. Amazon is not a sponsor of this promotion. Other restrictions apply. See website for details.
I was making great progress on building my savings, but then I get hit with an unexpected car repair bill.
Keeping a close eye on my credit score allowed me to buy my first house, but an unexpected medical emergency set me back.
When the unexpected happened, Avant was there to help. If you need to borrow $2,000 to $35,000, try Avant. It's fast, simple, and transparent.
Everything is done online. There are no prepayment fees, and no collateral is required. And you can instantly check your rate with no impact to your credit score.
Over 500,000 customers have experienced the convenience of a loan through Avant. No wonder Avant has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. And now, Avant will give you a $50 Amazon.com gift card after your first payment is made on time. To check your rates and to get this special radio offer, go to Avant.com today and enter promo code 5252 when applying. That's AVANT.com, promo code 5252. Go to Avant.com today and enter promo code 5252.
All right, welcome into the program, Gamecock Nation. This is the Carolina CrowLine. We are just getting things started off here on the show. South Carolina with another embarrassing performance in the rivalry game, 34-10. It may as well have been 43-10. It may as well have been 800-10, because there was no possible way that South Carolina was going to be able to get anything going offensively to even threaten Clemson or even turn it into any sort of football game, basically from the opening kickoff until the very end. And one of the things we talked about last week when I gave you my keys to the game was to start fast, and we had talked about it last week. It has been a huge problem for South Carolina this year. They have done almost nothing in the first quarter. They have done nothing on their first drive of the football game. As a matter of fact, on the opening drives of the football game, they only have 2 touchdowns all season, both of them by Deebo Samuel. One was on the first play of the game, first game of the season, the kickoff return for a touchdown against NC State, and one was the very first offensive play of the game to Deebo Samuel during the Kentucky game. And that was it. Every other time, South Carolina's either punted the ball, turned the ball over, or missed a field goal on their very first drive of the season. And that's exactly how the game got started. You start with another devastating turnover, and not just a turnover where you might be able to limit the damage, a turnover that results in points right off the bat. And that was my second key of the game. Turn the ball over and keep from turning the ball over. South Carolina was not a good enough football team to make their own mistakes. Not only that, 9 total penalties in the game. Jake Bentley looked lost. overthrowing Hayden Hurst again right down the middle of the field, wide open, like he's done at least I can think of 3 different times early in football games where they run that play. And South Carolina was held to its lowest yardage output of the entire season, only 270 yards for the entire game, 207 yards for the entire game, 99 yards, that's it, in the first half of total offense. And you just knew once Clemson got out to that lead, you're down by 3 scores going into halftime, it wasn't going to work out for South Carolina. If you left at halftime, I can't really blame you because you didn't really need to see anything else. That game was beyond pathetic. It was a chance for South Carolina to step into the spotlight. Instead, they got knocked out of the spotlight, just like they did against Kentucky during the blackout game. There was a huge social media push for the never forget, never again, whatever it was that the athletic department was pushing out the whole Thanksgiving weekend prior to the game. And it looks like they didn't forget because they look like they were just as scared to play Clemson as they were last season. So overall, the team didn't block well enough. The team didn't tackle well enough. The quarterback and the offense didn't move the ball well enough. And that was the story of the game. That was it right there. Another key for the game that I talked about last week was to be multiple on offense. Where was it? Because I surely didn't see it. And you couldn't get off the field on third down. You allow a big 80-yard drive right there at the beginning of the ball game. And that pretty much just sends a message right there to Clemson and to the fans and to South Carolina that Clemson was just going to be able to pretty much do whatever they wanted to do offensively. At any point in the football game, they were going to break off chunks of yards whenever they needed to. And that's exactly what they did. Just give you some stats overall. Jake Bentley, 16 of 29 for 126 yards, 2 picks and a touchdown. That touchdown came in garbage time. At least that's how I consider it. Tyson Williams, 13 carries, 53 yards. Not bad output there. But the problem was you had 25 carries for 81 yards in the entire football game. That's not going to get it done. A.J. Turner goes out with an injury, and it just seemed to be every single red flag that you didn't need to have happen for South Carolina started to happen. Couldn't move the ball on offense. Suffer an early scoring turnover. You lose your starting running back. You give up chunk plays and a big drive down the field, and you give Clemson even more momentum going in by 3 scores at halftime. Clemson didn't need to do anything after that because the writing was on the wall, and that was just the kind of performance that it seemed like Clemson expected it to be leading all the way up to game time. And South Carolina finishes the season 8-4. It looks like they're going to be headed to a great bowl game, but it's still, you can't help, especially if you're a Gamecock fan in South Carolina, an active member of the rivalry. You've got Clemson coworkers, Clemson relatives, Clemson neighbors, Clemson friends, whatever it is. It's just another bitter pill to swallow as Clemson now wins their 4th in a row, coming off South Carolina's 5 in a row. And it doesn't look like Clemson is showing any signs of stopping. So that begs the question, how far away is South Carolina from competing with the Clemson Tigers? Because it doesn't look like, at least in my opinion, in the foreseeable future, that the Clemson Tigers are going to be getting any worse by any stretch of the imagination. They don't look like they're going to be taking several steps back anytime soon. So then that leaves the other side of the coin. How much more ground does USC have to make up to just make it competitive with the Clemson Tigers? And I would say a lot more. A lot more. You don't have the depth. You don't have the 2-deep, the 3-deep depth at some of these skill positions that it's going to take to stop a team with as many weapons as the Clemson Tigers. They have All-Americans all up and down their front 7 on defense. They've got talented, athletic, 5-star playmakers across the board at the skill positions on offense. T. Higgins, 5-star wide receiver, freshman. If you look at his stats during the season, he hasn't thrown up monstrous numbers. But the thing is, when you put him out there with Deion Kane, with 5-star running back Tavian Feaster, and all these other guys, and you have Jamias Williams trying to cover a 5-star wide receiver who's 4 inches taller than he is, you're just not going to put yourself in a position to stop an offense such as Clemson's. That's what I'm talking about by the depth across the board. When we're trotting out 4 or 5 4- and 5-star defensive backs that have size and skill, then you can have that conversation. But Clemson can roll out highly rated receivers and running backs and tight ends 3 deep. Some guys that don't hardly even play. And those guys, all you need is to have one of those guys pop during the game, and all of a sudden you're creating a mismatch. And you only need to have it once, and you can just go back to it over and over and over again. And that's exactly what Clemson was able to do. Kelly Bryant throwing for 272 yards. That's his highest output on the season since I believe he threw for over 300 against the Louisville Cardinals. So he had an amazing performance. This is a kid that a lot of people said that he wasn't going to be able to throw the football before the season even started, that he was just a running quarterback. By the way, when you take a look at the running attack for Clemson, another key that we talked about, stopping the run game. Clemson racking up 184 yards on the ground. That's a pretty good, I would say, if you let Clemson rack up 184 yards on the ground and didn't tell me anything else about the football game, I would say that South Carolina did a good job stopping the run. ATN, their premier running back, you hold him to 41 yards. You hold Adam Choice to 39 yards on 7 carries. Kelly Bryant carries the ball 10 times for 26. Ray McLeod twice for 22. C.J. Fuller 5 times for 20. Tavian Feaster, like I mentioned, 6 for 18. I think that's a good day stopping the run. But you didn't have the total package. You give up the explosive plays, and in the end, Clemson wasn't ever really threatened and didn't feel like they had to really do anything offensively to distance themselves from South Carolina. In other words, they could just kind of putt around with the football, hit a few passes, hit a few runs here or there, and they knew South Carolina wasn't a threat offensively. I don't think they were scared of what South Carolina could do offensively whatsoever at all, and it looked like that in their game plan. They were happy just trying to play keep away. 7 points in the first, 13 in the second, 14 in the third, and that's all they needed. Stay with us. We're heading out to our first break. You're listening to the Carolina CrowLine. Welcome back into the Carolina CrowLine. We're coming to you from the CRM Sports Studios in Columbia, South Carolina. You can make the Carolina CrowLine a part of your week. If you don't have us in your local broadcast radio market, you can go ahead and just download the Carolina CrowLine as a podcast right there straight from iTunes. Hit subscribe, and it will alert you whenever a new Carolina CrowLine is available. You can also stream the Carolina CrowLine straight from the internet. No downloading necessary. It's carolina.libsyn, Libsyn.com. If downloading is your thing and you like podcasts, go ahead and download the Gamecock Sports Radio app, courtesy of vSporto. You'll find the Carolina CrowLine there, along with several other podcasts that come out throughout the week, so you can always get your football fix, especially now that football is winding down. I actually can't believe how quickly this season has flown by. It seems like just yesterday that I was sitting in Hilton Head on the beach watching Deebo Samuel run the opening kickoff back against NC State and laughing at my father, the NC State grad, and poking fun at him as the college football season, especially for South Carolina, got started off in a big way. And now here we are, 12 games deep. South Carolina 8-4, second in the SEC, clinched a winning record in the SEC for the first time in, I believe, 5 years. And so in Will Muschamp's second season as head coach, I think there's definitely things to be optimistic about. South Carolina looks at this point, based upon a lot of the bowl projections, to be headed to a very nice bowl down in Florida. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. But gosh, when you have performances like this, when you have performances like Louisiana Tech where you need a field goal at the end of regulation to win, when you have games like Kentucky and you allow them to win for the fourth season in a row in your building to open up the home season slate after you, again, the whole big social media push from the marketing department of the athletic department and the football team, and all those guys do a great job. I love the videos. I love the pictures. I love the updates on the new training facility. I love all that stuff. But you really start to put yourself in a corner when you just trump up these games, and then the football team just comes out and they look like they're not even prepared to take victory over their opponent. And what I'm really trying to transition to here is what I'm talking about, how they look offensively. And it just didn't look like South Carolina had anything in their repertoire that seemed dangerous. It didn't look like they were going to challenge Clemson defensively to do anything Clemson didn't want to do. And we talked about being multiple on offense, giving Clemson a lot of things to think about, showing a lot of new looks, things that they haven't seen before, forcing Clemson's defense to make a decision about who they wanted to cover, and then you could get them into mistakes, get their eyes looking in the wrong direction, and take advantage of mismatches that way. And it just didn't. I don't get paid to be the offensive coordinator for South Carolina. Most Gamecock fans don't get paid to be the offensive coordinator for South Carolina. But I feel like there are a lot of people that can tell that the person who does get paid to be the offensive coordinator for South Carolina doesn't seem to be doing the best job that they could possibly be doing. And we'll never know everything that goes on in the meeting rooms. We'll never know what actually transpires on the field between coach and player, on the headsets up to the booth, just like Will Muschamp in the postgame called the pick six early in the game a miscommunication, and that route should have been broken off, and that ball never should have been fired to that side of the football field. Those are just some of the things, and we don't get to listen. We don't get to hear from the coordinators during the season. Coach Muschamp shuts that down, and we only get to hear from the coordinators a handful of times during the offseason. So that access is very limited. We just aren't going to get a lot of answers. And when you don't get a lot of answers and things aren't going well, there just starts to be a lot more questions and a lot more accusations and a lot more blame starting to fall on the shoulders of people who you and I think are responsible for this. And I don't think there's any question. Tweet to me, email the show, tyler@crmsports.com. Tweet to me at Carolina CrowLine. Hit us up on Facebook as well if you think Jake Bentley has actually gotten better as a quarterback as the year has gone on. Because I don't think there are going to be a lot of people out there, dedicated Gamecock fans, who have watched this team throughout the season, are going to stand here and tell me that Jake Bentley has actually become better and has shown improvement as the year has progressed. I actually tend to think that his best games were the first two games of the season, NC State and Missouri. And then if you want to go back even further, I want to say the bowl game against South Florida, despite the loss in overtime, was an amazing performance, particularly in the second half. He has not gotten better as a quarterback. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? Number one, he's not listening to the coaching. Number two, the kind of coaching he's getting isn't of a high quality. Number three, the coach who's responsible for improving the quarterback play can't seem to put his finger on why Jake Bentley isn't improving as a quarterback. Or part of all three of those things. But I think all three of those things fall on the shoulder of the person that's responsible and is getting paid to make him a better quarterback. And that also happens to be the same person that's calling the offensive plays. So I think if you are a Gamecock fan and you're following what's been going on with this Gamecock offense and the offensive coordinator, Kurt Roper, you have to be asking some questions at this point in the season, the end of the season. Because I mean, just look at the points that you've scored. 35 against NC State, 31 against Missouri, 13 against Kentucky, 17 against Louisiana Tech, 17 against Texas A&M, 48 off, 3 defensive scores against Arkansas, I believe, 15 points against Tennessee, 34 points against Vandy, 10 points Georgia, 28 points Florida, 31 points Wofford, 10 points Clemson. And a lot of people felt like coming off of the Wofford and Florida games, those were 2 of Kurt Roper's better called games. You have an entire rivalry week to get prepared to take on a team that's challenging for the college football playoff, was number 3 at the time, now number 1, and you just fall flat on your face. And at this point, it sounds like to me, based on what I've been able to pick up, is that Kurt Roper has basically been politely suggested that he look elsewhere for alternate coaching opportunities. I don't think Will Muschamp is going to come right out and say something like, we've dismissed Kurt Roper from South Carolina, but I think he sent the message at this point, based on what I've been able to gather, that he's been basically asked, you know what, it might be better for you to try and find a spot somewhere else. And at this point, based on some articles that have been released online over the course of the last 48 hours, it looks like he is considered a head coaching candidate for the Rice position out there in Texas. So that could be a smooth transition away from Kurt Roper into another offensive coordinator. I tell you this, and we've talked about this on the Carolina CrowLine here before, this is Will Muschamp's last chance to be a head coach, I think, at a Power 5 school. And one of the very first things he said when he accepted the position here at South Carolina was that if we had scored more points, I would still be the coach of Florida. And he's right. I think we can tell based on what's happened with Florida this season that he had the defense ready to go. He just wasn't scoring enough points. And he said, if I had Kurt Roper sooner at Florida, I'd still be the coach at Florida. He said those 2 things. However, I think at this point, when you look at, they've been together 4 years now. I believe 2 at Florida and 2 here at South Carolina. When are we going to expect the improvement offensively for South Carolina? And since this, by all intents and purposes, is Will Muschamp's last chance, he's not going to go down with Kurt Roper. He's not going to go down with an offense that can't score points. He knows his neck is on the line, and he's not afraid to make a change. He's made several changes when he was the head coach at Florida, trying to find the right combination for a potent offense, and he wasn't able to piece it together there. So he's not going to sit here on his hands and just hope that Kurt Roper figures it out. He's got to make a move, I think, if he wants to start to show improvement and continue to move this South Carolina football program forward. We're getting the players. We don't have all of the players. But we have some guys at skill positions that can be effective in the SEC, offensively and defensively. Again, we don't have the depth. The depth is not there. There's no question about that. But we have enough to make some noise. I would say 8-4, second in the SEC East, with Kurt Roper, and some of these subpar offensive performances is a positive to take away. Imagine if this offense could find its flow and get rolling and create some mismatches on the perimeter and take advantage of their playmakers a little bit more. I think South Carolina would be an even more dangerous football team. So I think you can look at that as a positive with Kurt Roper right now. But again, to get back to the point, Will Muschamp, I think if the decision has been made in his mind that he needs to figure out a way to improve this offense, and it's not going to be with Kurt Roper, then that move has to be made. And I don't think he'll be shy about making that move in any way, shape, or form. So currently at this point, it looks like Kurt Roper has been encouraged to seek alternate coaching positions somewhere else in the world of college football. A coaching candidate, head coaching candidate at Rice currently. I've also been able to pick up that Matt Luke, the new head coach over there at Ole Miss, kind of has a position waiting on him if Kurt Roper so chose to make the move out to the SEC West, so that could be another opportunity. We'll just have to wait and see how things start to transpire. We'll head out to our next break. We'll be right back with a little bit of Will Muschamp, sad Will Muschamp, and his post-game interview after the loss to Clemson. We'll be right back.
This holiday season, make the smart choice and switch to Sprint and get a new Samsung Galaxy S8, S8 Plus, Note 8, or S8 Active with 50% off your lease. That's right, the hottest Samsung devices 50% off. Plus, with Galaxy Forever, you can upgrade to the latest Galaxy anytime after 12 lease payments. And when you switch to Sprint, you get the best price for unlimited. $25 per month per line for a family of 4, plus get a 5th line free. That's 50% off Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. You also get 10 gigabytes of mobile hotspot in HD, so you can stream your favorite holiday movies, music, and games. So stop by your local Sprint store, sprint.com/holiday deals, or call 1-800-SPRINT1 to learn more.
Requires 18-month lease and new line savings via monthly credit applied within 2 bills. Early termination results in remaining balance due after 1/31/19. Pay $38 a line per month with autopay. Excludes taxes, surcharges, and roaming. Compared to Verizon Beyond Unlimited rates, AT&T Unlimited Plus plan, and T-Mobile One Plus plan for 5 lines. Carrier features differ. Coverage and offer not everywhere. Subject to credit and $30 activation fee. Speed maximums, use rules, and restrictions apply.
What makes a holiday card unforgettable? Personality. And no one makes it easier or more affordable to create a holiday card full of personality than Vistaprint. Right now, get 60% off all custom holiday cards. That means 30 cards start at less than $12. With hundreds of stunning designs, your personality will shine through with every card you send. Just go to Vistaprint.com today and enter the promo code RADIO to get 60% off all custom holiday cards. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code RADIO.
We discovered that my daughter was using drugs. We were really at a loss. We'd been told by so many people to kick her out, to use tough love. You can't take a one-size-fits-all approach to substance use disorders. They're all different. You are the only one that knows your child. It's a slow process, and although it hasn't been perfect, she's not using drugs anymore, we're really hopeful. We're all in recovery from this disease.
There's hope and help at drugfree.org. A message from Partnership for Drug-Free Kids.
All right, welcome back into the Carolina CrowLine. I'm your host, Tyler Garrett. Glad to be with you on this program, even though it's a tough program to have at this point in the season over the last 4 years. But that's okay. Things will turn around eventually. Just to hit you with some final stats, Clemson rolls up 469 yards of total offense on South Carolina. South Carolina only responsible for 207 yards. Again, I mentioned at the top of the program, the lowest offensive output for the Gamecocks all season long. That's right. They even put up more yards on the road between the hedges in Athens against what was at the time the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And then you just, I don't know, just looking at it, usually when you try and look up and down the stats, you try to find bright spots and things positive you can take away. There's just not a lot really to be had when you look up and down. You know, Will Muschamp talked about it on SEC Nation when he was a guest the morning of the football game on the SEC network, of being balanced on offense, and they can't become one-dimensional, and they can't let Clemson force them to do something they don't want to do. Well, congrats, I guess, because you threw the ball 29 times and you ran the ball 25 times. The problem is you only threw the ball 29 times and you only ran the ball 25 times. You ran 54 plays. That is it. So I guess congratulations that you stayed balanced on offense, but when you're down by 3 scores, 4 scores, 5 scores in the football game, and you're running zone read plays on first down, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's my Seinfeld. Sorry, I'm going to practice it. It's just, that goes back to the whole conversation we were having on the other side of that break, talking about Kurt Roper and the offense and the game plan. Just, I don't understand. You're running the ball when you're down by 4 scores at the beginning of the third quarter because you think they're expecting you to pass, and you don't think that their All-American laden defensive front 7 can handle their one-on-one matchups, still fill the gaps, and stop running plays? Especially just straightforward running plays. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't get paid to be the offensive coordinator. None of us do. But it just seems to me that something is a little bit amiss with whatever the game plan was supposed to be against the Clemson Tigers. Let me kick it back out to Coach Muschamp and let you hear his thoughts with his another loss to the arch rival Pouty Face right here on the CrowLine.
Yeah, just extremely disappointing. You start the game, miscommunication at receiver and quarterback, and throw a pick for a touchdown, and third down killed us on the. I guess it was the their first offensive touchdown. We don't get off the field, an 80-yard drive. We have our opportunities there. Start the second half. We missed 4 or 5 tackles on a simple bubble screen. That's just some simple things that we needed to do well in this game, and we did not. Offensively, hard to get anything going till late. So disappointed with that. Their front four affected us in the run and pass game. Give them credit for that, and just got beat. You can't do that against. You can't beat yourself against a good football team, and we had too many self-inflicted issues tonight that caused issues for us. We had 9 penalties for the first time. We hadn't had 9 penalties in 4 or 5 games combined. So disappointed with the showing tonight. I'll open up for any questions.
Will, you mentioned the self-inflicted wounds. Was that guys just being a little too pumped up, or were they just,
Well, I told our team after we got to learn how to handle the moment better, obviously, and we did not, and that's something that was addressed at the end of the game. I talked to the team in the locker room. I'm extremely proud of our seniors and the progress we've made in 2 years. I was extremely disappointed with tonight, but we got to handle it better, and we didn't. We all lost our cool at times in some situations, and that's. I told them we need to, in any situation, whether it was a defeat or a victory, you've got to learn from those situations, and you got to move forward, and we need to learn from this.
What was the situation with A.J. Turner missing?
He had a high ankle, and that's all I know at this point. He tried to come back at halftime and went out in the third quarter and just didn't feel like he could push off of it. Our medical staff didn't clear him.
And any other injuries?
That's it. That's to my knowledge.
Well, how did you think Jake played, and did you consider replacing him with Skarnecki at any point?
No, absolutely not. Jake's our quarterback. Again, you got to protect a little bit better. Obviously, he'd like to probably have some throws back here and there, but I think overall you got to do some things to, whether it's protection and decision making. There was a combination of things. We had a hard time blocking him at the end of the day, and I'm sure he would like to have had some throws back, especially the interception for a touchdown. So we'll go back and make corrections and move forward.
Coach, it seemed like about half of Jake's interceptions this year have been miscommunications. How do you cut down on that, and why do you think that's happening so much?
Uh-oh. Bad question.
Well, I disagree with that, first of all. Let's go back to the Florida game. I mean, he threw a ball in the end zone to a wheel route, and their middle field safety made a heck of a play on him. That wasn't a miscommunication. We threw a sideline throw to Hayden. He just needs to either throw the ball away because it was extremely well covered, so that wasn't a miscommunication. We had the bootleg against Florida where really in that situation we'd like to throw the ball away. It wasn't a miscommunication, just need to take the ball to the right spot. Against Georgia, you got hit before half and the ball fluttered in the air. We had to dig and go wide open, so that wasn't a miscommunication. And then we had a 1-minute situation in the game against Georgia, and we're trying to make a play just like the Kentucky interception, and their guy made a play on the ball. So actually we've had one miscommunication for the year.
Burn.
Can you walk us through the interception, though, and tell us what the read was supposed to be?
Well, we're reading it was either split safety or middle field coverage, and the route should have been broken off, and we should have taken the ball another place. Simple as that.
With Shy, I don't think he played. Was that just a ankle injury that lingered?
No, we went through the week, and it was an ankle, a little bit of a knee, and we just didn't feel like he was going to be healthy enough to go. He practiced a little bit, we tried to run on it throughout the week, and game time decision, we pulled him.
All right, so there's a little bit from Coach Muschamp. And again, you lose a guy like Shy Smith, you need as many healthy playmakers as you can get. You can't afford to have these injuries. Shy Smith didn't play. A.J. Turner didn't play. You've got what amounts to be, at this point in the season now, the #1 team in the nation, according to the College Football Playoff, in your building. You need everybody on, all hands on deck. And you've already lost the most dynamic playmaker in the SEC, in my opinion, in Deebo Samuel early in the season. You lost who was your starting running back, Enrico Dowdle, earlier in the season. It just didn't seem like South Carolina was going to give themselves a lot of opportunities to win this football game because of their playmaking ability. And then when you saw the offensive game plan, you saw the shakiness of the quarterback play and the play calling. Who saw that and thought South Carolina was going to win the football game? I certainly didn't. I didn't think South Carolina was going to win anyway, but I thought if they did a few things, they were going to give themselves a chance. And they didn't do any of those things that I thought they needed to do. And you heard Muschamp right there talk about miscommunications and things like that. In my opinion, if Jake Bentley throws the ball in the wrong spot, that's a miscommunication. And that's a miscommunication in the film room. That's a miscommunication in preparation. That's a miscommunication on the practice field. Jake Bentley plays football, and the whole point of him spending all that time practicing in the quarterback room, in film study, is to avoid those mistakes like that. And it didn't look like he was prepared to play the football game. It didn't look like he was on the same page with his receivers, and that his mechanically he was throwing balls accurately. So, in my opinion, those kind of are miscommunications. If a guy goes up in one-on-one coverage and intercepts the pass that was a 50-50 ball, okay, fair enough. But when you're throwing the football to guys that aren't even turning around expecting a football to be thrown in their direction, I think that is a miscommunication. And I think that all of that happens during the week of preparation. And then, to me, that all kind of ties back to the coaching staff and the people that are getting paid to make sure three quarterbacks really are prepared to play a football game. We'll head out to our next break. Please stay with us. You're listening to the Carolina CrowLine. All right, welcome back into the show. We're asking Gamecock Nation, will a change in the offensive coordinator make a difference for this Gamecock football team? It seems like when you talk to Gamecock fans, they fall into two categories. They're either on the Kurt Roper train or they're on the Jake Bentley train. You can't be on both. It's either, look, what is Kurt Roper supposed to do when Jake Bentley doesn't throw the ball accurately, when he misses Hayden Hurst over the seam for explosive plays? What is Kurt Roper supposed to do when Jake Bentley throws the ball directly into the waiting arms of a Clemson defender? Is that Kurt Roper's fault? I mean, we're supposed to blame Jake Bentley's decision-making on Kurt Roper. He's not the one down there throwing the football. Or you're on the Kurt Roper train, and you think that this is Kurt Roper. This falls at the feet of Kurt Roper, the inability to score points, the inability to step up in big primetime moments. Jake Bentley actually regressing as a quarterback from the beginning of this year to the end of this year. So there's only really two sides, I think, in Gamecock fandom. So tweet to me. It's at Carolina CrowLine. Email the show, Tyler at CRM Sports. You can hit us up on Facebook as well. Let me know, do you think a change in offensive coordinator will make a difference for the positive for Gamecock football? Because, as I mentioned earlier in the program, this is Will Muschamp's basically his last go-around. If he fails here at South Carolina, he is not going to get another opportunity. In my opinion, he will not get another opportunity to be a head coach at a Power 5 conference. He's gonna drop down and be a coach at a smaller school, or he's gonna be a career defensive guy. But if he doesn't make a change somehow, some way, slide Bobby Bentley in there, give Brian McClendon the OC tag. A lot of people I know have been coming after Brian McClendon, and he has expressed his wishes to be a head coach somewhere. And if someone comes calling with a head coaching opportunity at a smaller school, I think Brian McClendon will probably jump at that chance to get his first crack at being a head coach. Do you make him the offensive coordinator, give him a little bump in pay? Because I tell you what, one of the reasons why I think South Carolina has grown so much from year 1 to year 2 is because of this staff. When you look up and down, and we said it when this staff was hired from the very beginning, you've got 3 former national recruiters of the year on this staff currently, on top of Will Muschamp, which was such a breath of fresh air, talking about coming off of Steve Spurrier and the amount of effort that these guys are going to put into establishing connections with head coaching circles within this state, getting around and seeing recruits, staying in touch with recruits, staying in touch with commitments instead of just assuming that they're going to remain committed to your program, and then not stopping recruiting guys who are committing to other programs. And we've seen in these past 2 recruiting cycles, guys from other programs come join the Gamecock football team because of those efforts. And I tell you what, if you want to get the big-time guys, you're going to need the big-time recruiters, because when you put a product on the field like a 34-10, when it's time for you to play with the big boys in college football and you lay an egg, you better hope you've got some good recruiters that are going to be able to spin that or continue to show the dedication and passion to these high school football-playing seniors to make them want to come play for your program. So there's a lot going on here. And I feel like for Will Muschamp, if you're asking my opinion on the situation, I think an adjustment needs to be made in the coaching staff. Some way, somehow, if that's suggesting Kurt Roper goes somewhere else, so be it. If that's helping him find another landing spot, so be it. If that's just saying, look, you're out, good luck, so be it. If you want to hire from within, Bobby Bentley has shown a lot of progress. A lot of people really like his mind offensively. He's a former head coach. Brian McClendon, if you want to do that and keep him on the coaching staff, I think that could be a possibility. Or hire another guy from somewhere else in the college football landscape. I know one person that has been mentioned that I've been able to pick up on as I've been tooling around the internet is the offensive coordinator from Oklahoma State. That might be a guy that would be interested in coming down to the SEC and joining South Carolina. Now, I don't know how all that's going to work if Mike Gundy decides to take the Tennessee job, or if he's going to turn it down, or however that's going to go. But that's just one name that's been thrown out there, so that could be a possibility. So you never know how these things are going to turn out. Will Muschamp knows tons of people throughout college football in the coaching circles, and I'm pretty sure that if a move is indeed made, or Kurt Roper just decides that the time is now to try and go somewhere else, Will Muschamp is going to have plenty of information and plenty of material to make the right hire as far as what's next for the offensive coordinator position. Just looking, by the way, enough of the negativity. Let's talk about something positive. Let's talk about bowl season. And as I was looking around getting prep for the show at where a lot of the college football bowl projections have South Carolina, I was actually extremely surprised by what I was finding. ESPN has South Carolina going to 2 different places, the Tax Slayer Bowl taking on Virginia Tech, which is in Jacksonville, or the Outback Bowl back down in Tampa to take on Michigan State. I love both those matchups, as a matter of fact. I wouldn't hate on South Carolina going to the Tax Slayer Bowl, and I would love to take on a talented ACC team in Virginia Tech. I think that would be a great opportunity for South Carolina to show that they can hang with the top tier in the ACC. You had that nice win to open the season against NC State. It would be great to get another win closing the season against another, I would say, top-tier ACC program, especially coming off the bad taste that's in your mouth from the Clemson game. Outback Bowl against Michigan State, another one of those Big Ten schools that pride themselves on running the football and tough defense. I've also seen on CBS and USA Today, they both have South Carolina projected to the Citrus Bowl. CBS has South Carolina to play Northwestern in the Citrus, and then USA Today has South Carolina playing Michigan State again in the Citrus Bowl. I would love to go to the Citrus Bowl. I didn't really expect to see South Carolina up for those types of bowl games when I was looking around and gathering information. But when you take a look at Mississippi State and the injury that they've got to their starting quarterback, you take a look at LSU and the kind of up and down season they've had, transitioning to their brand new coach Ed Orgeron in his first year, and then you look at all the positive momentum that a lot of the Gamecock fans have and that Will Muschamp has South Carolina trending up in the SEC East right now. I think getting down to the Citrus Bowl, I think the Gamecock Nation would travel extremely well for that and be very excited to participate in that bowl game. So if you're not Gamecock fans, you got a big opportunity to bounce back, get your 9th win of the season against a quality football program, and you get to do it in the sunny, beautiful state of Florida as well. No more Independence Bowls this year for the Gamecocks. Stay with us. We're going to head out to our last break of the program. You're listening to the Carolina CrowLine.
Geico presents Unhelpful Home Improvement How-Tos.
Overhanging trees present a real danger. During high winds, falling branches can damage roofs and windows. So today, I'll show you how to protect your home by wrapping it in bubble packaging. All you need is a staple gun and 142,000 feet of bubble packaging. Let's get started.
You could try to protect your home with bubble packaging, or you could get covered for personal property damage through the Geico Insurance Agency. Call Geico and see how affordable homeowners insurance can be.
This holiday season, Groupon has something for everyone. Because Groupon has gifts for people who like getting stuff and people who like doing stuff. People who like cookware and people who like restaurants. People who like headphones and people who like concerts. People who like staying in and people who like going out. People who like relaxing in front of a new TV and people who like relaxing at a high-end spa. So whether they like getting stuff or doing stuff, you can find the perfect gift on Groupon. Download the app and save. Groupon.
Loans are made by WebBank. Rates and terms vary based on credit history. Amazon is not a sponsor of this promotion. Other restrictions apply. See website for details.
I was making great progress on building my savings, but then I get hit with an unexpected car repair bill.
Keeping a close eye on my credit score allowed me to buy my first house, but an unexpected medical emergency set me back.
When the unexpected happened, Avant was there to help. If you need to borrow $2,000 to $35,000, try Avant. It's fast, simple, and transparent.
Everything is done online. There are no prepayment fees, and no collateral is required. And you can instantly check your rate with no impact to your credit score.
Over 500,000 customers have experienced the convenience of a loan through Avant. No wonder Avant has an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. And now, Avant will give you a $50 Amazon.com gift card after your first payment is made on time. To check your rates and to get this special radio offer, go to Avant.com today and enter promo code 5252 when applying. That's AVANT.com, promo code 5252. Go to Avant.com today and enter promo code 5252.
All right, we're back here on the Carolina CrowLine here for the final segment of the program, the 2-minute drill, as we'd like to call it. Email the show, Tyler at CRM Sports. Hit us up on Twitter at Carolina CrowLine. Get on Facebook. Let us know what you're feeling as well. Like our page. Get into our live webcast. Leave your comments there in the little chat box, chat room, whatever you want to call it, and we can keep the conversation going all week long. Just to update you on the final college football rankings of what amounts to be the regular season. You still got the Army-Navy game. I guess technically that counts in the regular season of college football, and you've got the championship games this weekend. Clemson sits at number 1 in the college football playoff. Auburn jumps all the way up to number 2. Oklahoma up to number 3. Wisconsin up a spot to number 4. Alabama falls all the way down to number 5 and officially out. They won't be in Atlanta, so they're basically just sitting there hoping that the football bounces their way and they can somehow sneak their way into the college football playoff. That would be interesting if Clemson actually beats Miami in the ACC championship game. Alabama somehow squeaks their way into the college football playoff. You'll have an opening round matchup, which is a rematch of last year's championship matchup, That would be pretty funny. And then you've got Georgia sitting at number 6, Miami down to number 7. I think if Miami can beat Clemson, they're going to be back up, I think, definitely threatening for that 4th spot in the college football playoff. And when you take a look around the SEC, with our rivalry games, Florida just doesn't have enough. can't keep up with Florida State, a Florida State team that may even lose their head coach 38-22. Georgia just slaps around Georgia Tech 38-7. Kentucky gets spanked by Missouri 44-17. I think that Kentucky game for Gamecock fans is just that is going to be this year's game. I feel like there's always a game where you just look back on it and you're like, wow, if we had just been able to take care of business that day, this season could have potentially looked much, much different. Auburn, of course, beats Alabama 26-14 on the CBS game of the week in the Iron Bowl. Auburn has now actually beaten two number one teams. They beat Georgia when they were number one, and Alabama, of course, they were number one last week. So that gives Auburn, even though they are a two-loss team, having lost to Clemson during the regular season, they're now a two-loss team in the college football playoff. I believe that would be, if memory serves, the first two-loss team to be in the college football playoff if they were to win in the SEC championship game in Atlanta this weekend. And then you've got Texas A&M. They lost to LSU in their rivalry game, 45-21. They dumped Kevin Sumlin. So you've got Kevin Sumlin gone. You've got Hugh Freeze gone, now replaced by Matt Luke. You've got Dan Mullen gone out of Mississippi State over at Gainesville. You've got McElwain gone. You've got Butch Jones gone. You could potentially have Derek Mason out of the picture as well. He's a candidate, I believe, for the Arizona State job. He may split Nashville to go take the position at Arizona State and go back out west where he's from. So that might be another issue for the SEC. And then all of a sudden, you look up and down the SEC. You think about Spurrier gone. You think about Miles is gone. Who's left? Who's left in the SEC? Richt gone. You've got Stoops. You've got Saban. Bielema gone. You've got Malzahn, and that's basically it. Those are the three guys. Those are the 3 and 4 guys that are the elder statesmen in the SEC right now. Everybody is trying to catch Nick Saban, and that's just, to me, in my opinion, that's just an extremely unrealistic expectation. You are not Alabama. You're not going to be Alabama. None of these teams in the SEC are going to be Alabama. LSU's not going to be. Georgia might be, but more than likely probably won't. Mississippi State, Texas, South Carolina, you're not going to be Alabama. You cannot sit here and give coaches 3 years, let them win 8 and 9 ball games, tell them that's not good enough, and then start over from scratch. You're going to turn into the Cleveland Browns after you do that for long enough. So I think a lot of these SEC programs are teetering on the edge of falling apart, a la Tennessee, a la Florida that we've seen in the SEC East this year. Florida's trying to get it back on track with Dan Mullen, and I think that's actually a solid hire. If he can do the things he did at Mississippi State, he should have every advantage to be successful in Gainesville. But if you keep recycling coaches, if you keep having unrealistic expectations, especially now with the college football playoff, there's only going to be 4 teams in college football that are going to have a shot at the national championship. And, of course, that sounds like an oversimplification, but that's just a fact. Okay, so all of these programs, the Tennessees of the world, who think they can just go pick whoever they want to off the coaching tree and drop them down into Knoxville, that's not a realistic expectation. That's not how things are going to work anymore. You're going to have to find the right guy and fit for the program and fit for the needs of a program are going to be more important, I think, now than ever, especially with the high rate of coaching turnover. That's going to be it for me. You're listening to the Carolina CrowLine. We'll be back next week for our final broadcast of the year, talking about where South Carolina is going to be headed for bowl season. I'm Tyler Garrett. We'll see you next time. I'm out.